Okay, how are you? Yeah. Great. Lovely. Lovely. No, no, you don't. How's it go?
Ready?
Yeah.
Miss Wendy, are you ready?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I love Family Shabbat. There's nothing better than hearing young voices filling our sanctuary. And how did you feel about the first snowfall this week? Some people are happy, some people aren't happy. But you know, when you stand up here on the bima, as our sixth graders are going to do in just a minute, and as our youth choir is doing right now, and as Mark and Wendy are doing, we get to face out and see all of you, and we get to see the glass that's behind you. So if you take a moment and turn around and look, actually, it is beautiful to see, even though the trees are now bare, their leaves have fallen, but the leaves in here are filled with light. And when we look around at our youth, we don't need to look into the windows. We can look around and see our young people, and they represent the fullness of spring. They represent the green and fullness of the branches because they are the newest buds on a very old tree. And it is amazing, so that even in the harshness of winter, that we can gather together as a community and see the light that comes from our youth. That is very special. And so we're going to call up all of our sixth graders to stand up on the bima. They're going to join our youth choir, which is going to stand up on our bima as well. We are so delighted that you're going to be lifting our spirits in song. And we want to welcome Miss Wendy and Mark Cohen, as always, for leading us so beautifully. And we are going to turn to the words of Hine Matov, how good and how pleasant it is when siblings can dwell together in peace. Look at this sixth grade class. They are magnificent.
Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shevet Achim Gam
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together
On this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
To be together on this day. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
I always love it when we can clap on the beat, don't you, Miss Wendy?
I
We do a
do.
very good job of that. And now, we have wonderful teachers here at Congregation Shalom that if you see the light coming from your young people when they're talking about Judaics and talking about Hebrew, that light is instilled within them both by their parents and their families and their grandparents, but also by their teachers. And it's a joy to call upon Mandy Winky and Susie Rosengarten to step forward as they are going to kindle our Shabbat lights, just as they bring light to all of our kids. And so what we do in synagogue when we want to wish somebody, when we want to do the applause, you know what we say? We say, Yesher Koach. Let me hear you say, Yesher Koach.
Yesher Koach.
Beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, Vitzivanu lechadlik ner, Vitzivanu lechadlik ner, Vitzivanu lechadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Let there be Shabbat light, let there be Shabbat peace. When the mystics of old were about to begin their Shabbats, they began down in the valley below the beautiful city of Tzfat. And they would walk along a snake path up towards the Ha'ari synagogue, where you still can go. And as they ascended, they sang this beautiful song, the Chadodi, that was written right there. And so as we sing the Chadodi and we come to the final verses, as we greet the bride by saying, Boi Kala, I'll invite you all to rise and turn towards the door through which you came to enter into the... Not yet. On the final verse, I'll let you know. That's when we're going to turn towards the doors and we'll bow on Boi Kala, to let the Shabbos bride, to welcome the Shabbos bride, not only into our sanctuary, but into our hearts. So let's begin singing together, along with our sixth graders, the Chadodi.
Lechadodi, likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat, nikabla, Shamor v'zachor, b'dibor echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'yitila. Lechadodi, likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat, nikabla, hitoreri, Vaorek kumiori, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayech nigla, lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat,
Please rise.
Bo'im v'shalom ateret mala, gam besimcha u'tzola, tochem u'ne'am segula, Boi kala, Lechadodi, likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat, nikabla.
Oh, you're going to be mad at me. I'm going to invite you to rise once again as we turn to the call to worship.
Lai, la, lai, 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 lai.
We are going to read now in the Hebrew, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, creator of sunrise and sunset. You turn the day into night and the night into morning, dividing the day from the night so no time is like another. 1,000 starlights write your name in the heavens. Source of life, be with us now and always. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We are going to continue reading together. With a great love we are loved. Like arms that hold us, we are wrapped in words of Torah, in ways that are good and true. We listen to the words of Torah. They are the story of our life. They bring us closer to you. We are going to turn now to the words of the Shema. And so I'm going to invite our sixth graders to turn around and face the congregation. We're not doing that just yet. May Torah be with us always. No, you can still face the congregation. May Torah be with us always, making us happy, filling our days, connecting us to our past, pointing us to our future. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, our teacher, who loves your people Israel. Now we're going to take our hands and place them over our eyes as we recite the watchword of our faith, the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Let's join together now in singing
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'eleh asher Elohi mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu totafot b'neinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
When the Israelites had fled from Egypt and they came upon the Sea of Reeds, and they stood upon the shores, they turned around and they saw the Egyptian chariots closing in behind them. And they grew scared and terrified and afraid. And God had told them to lift his arms with his staff in his hand so that the sea would part. But when he did, to their shock, nothing happened. And he lifted them again. And to his shock, nothing happened. And nothing happened until one man named Nachshon took a step into the water. And the water came up to his ankles. He took another step into the water, and the water came up to his knees. Another, and the water came up to his waist. And another, and it came up to his shoulders. And another, and it came up to his ears. And he looked up into the sky. And then, and only then, did the sea part in front of him. It reminds us that sometimes, no matter what stands in our way, no matter what stands between us and our promise, that when we take one step after the other, and when we join hands with our community, that we can accomplish extraordinary things. And when the Israelites were on the other side of that sea, they looked back at all the miracles that had happened, and they sang this very song. Okay, sixth graders, you can now return to your seats. Is that right, Miss Wendy? You are in charge. All right, head on back to your seats as we turn to Hashki Venu, prayer that reminds us that God is a sheltering presence in our lives. And so, let's read together. Help us to lie down, Adonai, in peace, and let us awake full of life. Let's read together. Keep us safe under your shelter of peace. Blessed are you, source of kindness and love, who spreads a sukkah of peace over us, over Jerusalem, and over all who live on earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukkat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue now with the Vishamru, which is going to be led by our youth choir. Pray as if everything depended on God and act as if everything depended on you. We're going to invite you now to rise as we turn to the words of the tefillah.
Adonai, Shefatai Tivka, Ufi Hagite Ilatecha. Adonai, open thy lips, and thy mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagivor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav LaHoshia, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Let's read responsively now. There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know. There is holiness when we are kind to someone who cannot possibly be of service to us. There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us. There is holiness when we are willing to be laughed at for what we believe in. There is holiness when we love truly, honestly, and unselfishly. There is holiness when we remember the lonely and bring cheer into bright corners. There is holiness when we share our bread, our ideas, and our enthusiasm. There is holiness when we gather to pray to the God who gave us the power to pray. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. We are going to now continue on with another responsive reading. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot. We turn now to the prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, a prayer that we are so in need of. But when we hear it sung by our young people, it gives us a sense of hope that not only will there be a shalom, like there is here, a sense of wholeness, but also a shalom, a sense of peace in the world.
Shalom Israel Tasim Leolam. Shalom Israel Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon, melech
we hear these words so beautifully sung by our children, gives us a sense of hope that shalom is possible. And so we turn now to thinking of those members of our community who might be in need of a shalem, of wholeness, those who are in need of a refuat nefesh or a refuat guf, a healing of spirit or a healing of body. I'd like to invite you now to think of your dear members of your family and friendship and those who are part of your community who might be in need of that healing. And before we turn to words of our tradition. We say these words together, Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, the source of healing. Let's join together now in the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
With those beautiful words of healing still echoing through our hearts and minds, we take this time for Tefillat Halev, for the prayers of our own hearts. Well, thank you to Mark and Miss Wendy and our youth choir. You are amazing. You guys work so hard, and you lift our spirits every single time you sing. It is always such a joy to hear you. So I want to tell you a story. The story takes place in an unusual town pretty far away, where there were two major families, the Cherry-Bim family and the Cherry-Bum family. Have you ever heard of the Cherry-Bim family? Have you heard of the Cherry-Bum family? Yeah, two families, and they did not like each other at all. In fact, they were enemies. They fought about everything. They fought about the land, they fought about the water, they fought about the cows, they fought about the chickens and horses, they fought over the air. They were very, very stubborn. The Cherry-Bim and Cherry-Bum families didn't talk to each other. They didn't look at each other, whether in the synagogue or out in the village or in meetings. They would sit opposite each other and they would glare or shout at each other, sometimes screaming. And this feud had been going on for years and years and years. Nobody even knew how the feud had started and how many generations back it went. How had this fight began? Where had it started? They didn't know. It was so long ago. Well, Rabbi Kibbutz, who was the rabbi of the town, that was his name, Rabbi Kibbutz, and he was the oldest and wisest of leaders around, and he was tired of it. He was tired of the hatred. He was tired of the anger. He was tired of the way they were speaking to each other, and so he decided that he wanted to solve the problem. The Cherry-Bim and Cherry-Bum families needed to come together to work it out. Their differences were getting to everyone. They were farmers, they worked the lands, they were neighbors, they lived so close together, but it seemed like they were so far apart. So what happened in those days, particularly in this village, that after a long rainfall, everyone in the village would go outside into the woods and they would pick mushrooms. Brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandfathers, grandmothers, everybody would go together to pick mushrooms for their lunches. Have you ever picked mushrooms for your lunches? Well, don't ever do that, by the way. You can only pick them at Sendik's or Pick and Save, or Whole Foods. Don't pick them outside, unless you really know what you're doing. But they really knew what they were doing. And brothers and sisters, they all went out. They would bring empty baskets, just like these. I don't know what's in these. They would pick up empty baskets. They would hunt for wild treasure mushrooms. The little ones would find lots of different kinds, and the older ones would teach them which ones were delicious and which ones they shouldn't eat, which ones were disgusting, and which would be poisonous and might hurt you. So during the rainstorm, Rabbi Kibbutz sent notes to the Cherry-Bim family, asking them to join him for lunch in the forest after the rain. And he also sent a note to the Cherry-Bum family, asking them to join him for lunch in the same place at the very same time. I think he could bring them back together secretly. And early the next morning, as the rain finished, the rabbi pulled out his boots, put a basket over his arm, and marched into the forest. And finally, he would reunite these families. His plan was first to call the Cherry-Bim family, and then he would find the Cherry-Bum family, and they would work it all out. But unfortunately, Rabbi Kibbutz forgot his glasses. So he was having a bit of a hard time seeing where he was going. And soon he came upon a group of people, and he would go, "Cherry-Bim?" And they would shake their heads. "Cherry-Bum," they'd say. Then, sighing, the rabbi would continue his search. He decided to change his tactics. He would meet with the Cherry-Bum first and then the Cherry-Bim. So soon he came upon another group of people and he said, "Cherry-Bum?" And they shrugged. They said, "Cherry-Bim." The rabbi muttered, "Cherry-Bim, bum, bim, bum, bim, bum." Another group of people were asking, "Cherry-Bum?" And they answered, "Cherry-Bim." The next group who were asked, "Cherry-Bim?" And they answered, oh, you're picking it up. The rabbi was getting so frustrated. "Aye, cherry-berry-berry bum-bum. Aye, cherry-berry-bum-bum." Back and forth, the rabbi went racing through the forest. If he asked Cherry-Bim, they told him Cherry-Bum. If he asked Cherry-Bum, they told him Cherry-Bim. The Cherry-Bim and Cherry-Bums were stubborn. They loved an argument. Neither group liked to admit that anything. Maybe they were playing tricks on the rabbi or just being stubborn. And so he said, "Bim," the rabbi shouted. "Bum," they answered. "Bum," the rabbi squeaked. "Thank you." "Bim," came a chorus. Bim, bom, bim, bom, bim, bom. He began to spin around. He asked another group, bum? Bum? Bim? Impossible. Bim, bom, bim, bom, bim, bom. The rabbi was running and twirling, always dancing. I cheery, beery, beery, bim, bom, bom. His hair was everywhere. His coat was flying open. I cheery, beery, bom, bom. I cheery, beery, bum, bum. I cheery, beery, bum, bum. Well, the cheery bim and the cheery bum started laughing. They couldn't help themselves. The rabbi, this wise old man, was acting like a chicken, like a frog trying to escape a pack of curious children. All the time he was muttering to himself, cheery bim bom, bim bom, bim bom. And they laughed, and they grinned, and they smiled as they listened. And they suddenly looked up across the forest, and they saw something they had never seen before. They saw each other smiling and laughing and grinning. They looked at each other, and they realized they all wore the same kind of clothes. They had the same hats and shoes. They had baskets of mushrooms ready for the picnic. So the cheery bim and cheery bom came together in the middle of the forest and shook hands, and they kissed cheeks, and they hugged, and of course they had lunch. It was very delicious. And when they were done, they lifted their poor, confused rabbi up on their shoulders because he was a little too dizzy to walk still. And together they carried him back to the forest singing, I cheery, beery, beery, bim, bum, bum. I cheery, beery, beery, bim, bum, bum. From that day on, they were no longer known as the Cheery Bim and Cheery Bom family, but they were known as the Cheery Bim, Cheery Bom, Cheery Bim Bom, Bim Bom, Bim Bom. Cheery Bim, cheery, cheery, I cheery, cheery. I cheery, 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 bim bom bom. I cheery, 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 bim bom bom. I cheery, cheery, beery, bom. Sometimes in life there are conflicts and there are arguments and there are things that make us upset, but sometimes it's important for us to drop all of those things that make us angry and come together. And sometimes in the end we can even sing songs that make us laugh and smile. Are you ready? Let's do it one more time. But everybody please join me. Cheery bim, cheery bom, cheery bim bom, bim bom, bim bom. I cheery, 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 I cheery bom. I cheery, 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 bim bom bom. I cheery, 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 bim bom bom. I cheery, 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 bom. And that's where the song came from. True story. We are going to turn now to Aleinu, but before we do, we want to call up anybody that has had a birthday in the month of November for you to come up and receive a blessing and maybe a lollipop too. So if you would like to come up, you have the honor of opening up our doors. So I'd like to call up anybody who's had a birthday in November, whether you are young or young of spirit. Some of you I know have birthdays in November because I call you. So I'm looking at you, and I know it's your birthday. Please rise. The kids have opened the art doors. So please, go ahead, guys. All right, so let's
Aleinu l'shapeach ladon hakol, laten gdula liotzer breishi, shelo asanu b'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adam ha, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
And let's all do a special blessing for all of our young people whose birthdays it is today, are going to remain standing and join together in the singing of the Shachriah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu la'zman hazeh.
I'm going to invite now all of our young people to go to your parents or your grown-ups that are here with you, because one of the finest things that we can do when we're together is we have the opportunity to bless each other. So I'm going to ask the parents to put your hands on your children's heads. If you are standing next to someone who you love, you can place your hands on their heads as well. They deserve a blessing. And if you would repeat after me, Yisa Adonai,
Yisa Adonai,
Panav Elecha,
Panav Elecha,
V'yasem Lecha,
Yasem Lecha,
Shalom.
Shalom.
May God always smile upon you
May God always smile upon you
and bless you with God's choicest of blessings,
and
bless you with God's choicest of blessings,
the blessing of peace.
the blessing of
You
peace.
say Amen.
Amen.
And now if the kids, if you'd place your hands on your grown-ups' heads, or if you're standing next to somebody that you love, and you can repeat after me, may God
May God
bless
bless
the love
the love
between
between
you
You
and me.
and
You
me.
say Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated for now, but there is something very special about feeling the hands of our parents or our children upon our heads. And despite the fact that many cannot be with us physically, whether they've passed into life eternal, we still feel their blessings. And though we may not feel their physical hands upon our heads, certainly we can feel their spiritual hands and the way that they smile down upon us with the same love and affection that they did in life. Particularly in our hearts and minds here at Congregation Shalom, we are thinking of these dear people who have entered into life eternal during this period of Shiva, those who've passed during this week. We think of Adrian Hirsch. We think of Rabbi Leonard Kravitz, Ann Lieber, and Brad Rose. In addition to those who we mark their period of Shiva, we think of those for whom we mark the period of Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period. We think of David Cohen, Georgine Kesselman, Arlene Minkoff, Bernard Plotkin, Debbie Rice, and Bernard Wessler. In addition to those names, too, we think of those who've passed away in seasons gone by, for whom we mark their yahrzeit this evening. We think of Sigmund Benzinger, Arthur Bob Berg, Paul Burns, Sherry Burson, Annette Cohen, Hyman Cohen, Maxine Cohn, Irene Edelstein, Fred Jack Emmerich, Lawrence Evans, Gertrude Feingold, Lou Fati, Susan Gollin, Lillian Glick, Alan Glickman, Gilbert Goldman, Samuel Granoff, Lawrence Herskovitz, Arnold Herstand, Max Hoffman, Solomon Holman, Joseph Kohlenberg, Elizabeth Colmus, Mary Kay LaBranch, Samuel Lacombe, Stanley Levy, Kathy and Ann London, Rose Mayerson, James Minash, Michael Neufeld, Guy Neville, Max Newberger, Ida Ozanoff, Eli Paler, Florence Pinkert, Edward Plotkin, Evelyn Hertz Pollock, Lester Vance Selinsky, Doreen Salzberg, Carol Schnoll, Erwin Schuster, Harold Sheffield, Edith Nancy Sklar, Sidney Toller, Simon Tolkien, Morris Turek, Dr. Marvin Wagner, Rachel Walchuk, Jean Wilkinson, Tilly Ziegler, and Golda Zucker. If there are names that should be added to this list or names that should be pronounced differently than I did, please do call those names out loud as I look in your direction. May their memories be for a blessing. In addition to the names of our loved ones, so too do we think of all those who have died due to war and or terrorism. We think of all those who've died in defense of this nation and allied nations' ideals. We think of all those who've died due to the terrible viruses of racism and xenophobia, as well as all those who perished during the Holocaust. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope. The Kaddish Yatom may be found on the screens in front of you. We rise together now as one community as we remember our loved ones. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah, B'alma tivrach chirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei dekudusha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. O say shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say Amen. Amen. You may remain standing as I'm going to call up Brian, who's our Director of Congregational Learning. And Brian, do you have any announcements that you would want to make for the families for this, maybe this weekend, for this Sunday?
Should I think about it while we do Kiddush?
Yeah, you can think about while you do Kiddush.
Great.
Well, you should think about Kiddush while you do Kiddush, but then you can think about it afterwards.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei beri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uv'ratzon hintilanu Zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom tefillah le'mikra'ei kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim Shabbat Koshecha V'Yahava Uratzon Inchaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen.
Chaim.
Yeah, I have a few announcements.
Okay, go for it, Brian.
Okay, please be
You may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, first I want to thank all of our sixth graders and our youth choir for helping to lead such a beautiful service tonight. It's always a joy to see our students helping lead our congregation. I want to remind our sixth grade families that this Sunday is Family Education Day. So grown-ups, you are invited to join your children for the morning of learning, with with Mandy and Susie. And so I hope all of the grown-ups can join us for that. If you do not have a sixth grader, also this Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, we have our Israel No Sugar program with Noah Gerasi. She's our community shlicha, and she'll be having an open conversation about what's going on in Israel. And it's a great opportunity to hear from someone who really knows the ins and outs of what's happening in Israel and who's lived there. And then finally, there's no Hebrew school this week and no Sunday school next. There is Sunday school this coming Sunday. The following Sunday, December 1st, we don't have school because it is Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone has an enjoyable Thanksgiving weekend and nice time with your families or however you're celebrating.
Thank you, Brian. And also, as it's Thanksgiving this week, Sunday evening at 7 o'clock, we have our annual Thanksgiving interfaith service along with North Shore Presbyterian Church. We've been doing this for, I think, 68 years. Well, let's just say 68 years. We'll find out on Sunday if I'm right. Okay, Linda's nodding her head, 68 years. So 68 years. What an extraordinary tradition of fellowship and neighborliness. So please do come. Kids are welcome, of course, and it will be a lot of fun. And so wishing you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Once again, thank you to our youth choir. Thank you to our sixth graders. Thank you to Mark and Wendy for leading us so beautifully.
Thank you to you, Rabbi.
Oh, thank you, Mark. What is our closing hymn for this Shabbat?
The words are up. Easy.
All right, let's join together. Let's rise together and join together in the singing of Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for our oneg afterwards. There's racing cars for the kids and good food for everyone.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
And if it wasn't your birthday and you still want a lollipop, you can come up and get a smaller one from Brian. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.